Yes, good evening, ma. I'm sorry for coming late. I think we are good to go. If I've shared this link with Madam Comfort, how to locate second class. Okay, I believe my screen is visible now, and we are here. This is one of the most interesting courses. Professionalism in teaching. Professionalism in teaching. If you can recall very well, what we did in the previous class, we're trying to check if teaching is truly professional. If teaching is truly professional, that is what we are trying to check. If teaching is truly professional. And there was a whole lot of arguments that day, if I'm correct to use the word argument, but we kind of enjoyed that class. It's one of the most interesting class that we have done. And we hung the boots on the summary of Unit 3. Now, our concern in this class is Unit 4. You are welcome to class. We are almost done with this material. This is one of the shortest course material in this your current semester. The professional growth of teachers. The professional growth of teachers. That is our concern this evening. And what do you want to learn under professional growth of teachers? We want to learn pre-service training of teachers. Before you even enter into service, before you start the process or you start teaching, before you become a teacher, what are the things you go through or you're expected to have gone through? That is our concern in this unit. And as a form of introduction to the course, or sorry, to this unit rather, we have so far discussed the concept of teaching and profession, the history of teaching in Nigeria, and teaching as a profession in Nigeria. We hope by now you have been sufficiently informed about both concept, teaching and professionalism. But that is absolutely correct. We started this course material by talking about what is teaching and what is a profession. Then we talk about professionalism in teaching. We talked about history of Nigeria and whether teaching is a profession or not. That was the last argument we had in the last class. So in this unit, however, we shall examine the institutional setting of teacher education as it relates to pre-service training for prospective teachers and in-service training for those already in the service, as well as any other professional program for teachers in Nigeria. The emphasis comes to the requirement of teaching. So not only are we interested in the type of training given to prospective teachers, those that want to become teachers, we'll also look at the type of training that concerns those that are already in the teaching profession, how they continually improve themselves. Now, the objective is just one. All we want to know by the end of this unit is to raise and discuss issues and problems associated with the pre-service. That means before you join teaching as a job or anything, and the in-service, that is your continual growth in the profession. That is in-service training of teachers in Nigeria. So let's talk about the pre-service training of teachers. Just like we have always done, we'll read it first, then we'll try to philosophically look at it. So let's read. Let us start with a quotation by the British Colonial Office study group on West Africa as far back as the 1952. The reason being that as relevant as it was in 1952, it remains relevant up to this moment. And I quote, "You cannot have good teachers until you have good schools, or good schools until you have good teachers." And that's a very powerful statement. You cannot have good teachers until you have good schools. Neither can you have good schools until you have good teachers. That is an interwoven situation. Now let's continue the reading. Don't worry, it's not yet time to explain. Let's just keep reading. I hope my screen is visible and you can hear me. I want to believe Madam Titi is here and Madam Comfort is there. Please, Madam Comfort, as soon as you join the class, you send a greeting or drop any message so we know that you are here. I know 5 people are watching this, but I don't know who they are. I'm expecting only 2 people to be in this class. Anyways, the colonial government at that time decreed that no new schools in West Africa are to be opened until teachers are available. What good logic this was. To make teachers available, teacher training colleges were established. Teacher training began with 3-year training for the award of teacher grade 3 certification. Those who were successful were then absorbed into a 2-year teacher training program to graduate as grade 2 teachers. These were teachers who qualified to teach in elementary and primary schools. This trend continued to post-independence period through the 70s. To go further in teaching or in teacher training, there was the National Certificate in Education (NCE) program, which is very popular today, which prepares prospective teachers to teach in secondary school. Okay. In 1977, when the National Policy on Education came into effect, the National Certificate of Education (NCE) was proposed to be the minimum qualification for teachers in Nigeria, thus purchasing out, thus facing, not purchasing, facing out the grade 2 teachers certificate program. I don't even think some of us that are from this generation know what that one is all about. But we definitely know what NCE is all about. Now, the last part is that these are professional training programs that lay emphasis on the act of teaching at both primary and post-primary schools levels. Now, we seem to have been reading. We have been reading. Before I start my explanation, I want to use an icebreaker. To see if you guys have been following me. Okay, Madam Comfort is there. You are welcome, ma. Now let's use this icebreaker to pause a bit. So once you answer it, I will go straight into, of course, the critical analysis or philosophical look of what we've just finished reading. Now, while you are trying to answer that, let me go straight to a form of explanation. When we talk about the pre-service training of teachers, that means what happened before you become a teacher, what you are expected to have before you become a teacher. Now, there is this important thing to note. So, in 1952, an important point to start with, that's a famous quote by the British Colony Office Study Group on West Africa. And that occurred in 1952. What did they say? As far back as 1952, they said that you cannot teach until you have good schools, or good schools until you have good teachers. That statement is very important, and you should know when it was made in 1952 by who? British West Africa. Now, what does this mean? This statement, what does it mean? It means that good schools need good teachers, and good teachers need proper training. It's the simple definition we can give to that statement. What were they thinking then when they actually made that statement? What the British Colonial Office Study Group on West Africa thinking in 1952 was good teachers need good good schools need good teachers, and also if you are going to have good teachers, they also need proper training. Or let's even break it a little bit simpler. What they are trying to say is that a school cannot provide quality education without qualified teachers. A school cannot provide quality education without qualified teachers. And also, teachers need good institutions where they can receive proper training. So what I'm trying to say is that this statement was made far back, and the statement was relevant then. Till today, how many years back now? Till today, that statement is still relevant. Over 70 years. The statement is still relevant because even till today, if you don't have good teachers, you will not have good schools. And good teachers need to be made. They need to be made. Now, colonial government policy. Another thing that was mentioned that is worth noting. They mentioned the colonial government policy. They mentioned the colonial government policy. And that policy, what did it say? They believed that teacher training was very important. And that is because of that their statement that ruled out the fact that teachers need to be made too. So what was their concern? What was the policy made by the colonial government on Nigerian education, on West African education system? They said no new schools should be opened unless qualified teachers that will, take the roles of teachers in those schools were available. So what they are trying to say is that if you have not made the teachers, then don't create. It's a very important logic. That's why if you have not made the teachers, then don't create the schools. The policy tried to that schools had trained teachers before ever admitting pupils. Schools should have trained teachers before you even start admitting what do you call them? Pupils or learn students. Now, how were they training teachers in the past? Because what we have just read now shows us several things. It started with the British colonial study group on West Africa, their statement. Then it moves to their policy. Now, from their policy, they also talked about how teachers were trained in the past. In order to produce enough teachers in the past, there were teachers training colleges. They established teacher training colleges in order to, since there was a challenge posed by the statement of the British, the colonial British study group on West African education that says that there will be no good schools without good teachers, and there will be no good teachers without good schools or good training. So, in order to answer to that challenge, there is a need to train teachers. We need more people to come into the teaching world. And if that's the case, It means we need to create institutions that would what train those teachers. That will train those teachers. Now, how were teachers trained in the past? The first level of teacher training that we uh, can fish out here is the one we call grade 3 teacher certificate. Grade 3 teacher certificate. So what kind of level is that? Is that a very good level, or is that a basic level? So the first level of teacher training was teacher grade 3 certificate. It lasted for just 3 years. Based on the content of this material, it lasted for just 3 years. Teacher training, teacher grade 3 certificate lasted for 3 years. And what is being done is that it prepared the beginners, those that are interested in teaching, prepares them for teaching. So once you need to go to the next, which is grade 2. And then, so from grade, just like when we say you and then you want to do your master's, and then you still want to do your PhD. You understand? So grade 3 seems to be like a first degree. You attain that, you need to move to grade 2. Grade 2 teacher certificate. That one lasted for just 2 years. Grade 2 teacher certificate, you go to school for 2 years. And then what you earn, what is your reward for going through that 2 years training, is that you become a qualified teacher to teach in elementary schools and even primary schools. You can teach in elementary schools and primary schools once you have grade 2 teacher certificate. That was how they were practicing teachers training then, until few years after our independence as a nation. So in 1970s, or in the 1970s rather, something shifted. They stopped the idea of grade 2, grade 3, and now something was formulated. And what was formulated? We have what we call the National Certificate in Education. That's NCE. You know that. That's a very popular thing now. So NCE was formulated, which is National Certificate in Education. Now, as education developed, Nigeria introduced the National Certificate in Education, NCE. The NCE prepares teachers now to teach secondary school level. So if you just want, or if all you wanted then was to teach primary schools or elementary schools, grade 2 is enough. But if you are willing to teach rather in secondary school, you must have NCE. NCE became a prerequisite for you to be able to qualify for teaching secondary school education. Now, national policy on education came into space after the formulation of NCE. National policy on education, which occurred in 1977. That is a major change. And what the National Policy on Education in 1977 states that the National Certificate in Education, NCE, is the minimum teaching qualification. It is no longer if you want to teach primary school, go to grade 2, or if you want to teach elementary school, have grade 2. No, if you want to teach at all, you must possess national certificate in education. So I have one simple question to ask you guys. Do you have NCE certificate? I will be expecting your responses in the chat box. Do you have NCE certificate already? Now, why did the federal government made that policy that says that the certificate in education, NCE, will now become the minimum requirement, or is now the minimum requirement or minimum teaching qualification in Nigeria? The reason is that grade 2 teacher certificate was gradually discontinued. That grade 2 training, they stopped. Then anyone who wanted to become a professional teacher was expected to obtain an NCE at least. What about it's like both of us don't have okay, we have an activity to do. That is not an issue. You've gotten your degree in education already. I think that is higher than sorry, you're actually into your degree program in education. So that is even a higher this thing than NCE. So excuse me. Okay, before we go to the activity, let's now talk formally on the pre-service training. What is pre-service training? Now, pre-service training means is a type of professional training a person receives before becoming a teacher. That is what we talk about when we say pre-service. Before, when you see the word pre seems to be a suffix. Oh, sorry, a prefix rather. Pre is a prefix that shows something that occurs before another thing. So pre-service means something that occurs before service. So pre-service training is a training or a professional training that a person receives before he or she becomes a teacher. It prepares future teachers before they begin classroom teaching at all. What are the examples of pre-service training that we have? We have things like the grade 3 that were they used in those days and the grade 2. Then we have the national certificate in education, which is invoked now. Then we have things like Bachelor of Education, the one you are pursuing now. We have Bachelor of Arts Education, that is BA Edu. We have Bachelor Edu. Those are the pre-service trainings that we have available. So pursuing your B Edu or Bachelor of Art in Edu, that is in education, or Bachelor of Science in education, you are already obtaining something of higher level than NCE or grade 3 or grade 2. That qualifies you to teach in even higher institutions, not only in secondary school. So let's look deeply into university degree programs. Apart from the NCE, universities also train teachers, and that is where we have Bachelor of Education, what you're actually studying. It's a degree that is specially designed for professional teachers. And if you have seen all the things you have been doing in all these your course materials, it seems to be producing in you some, triggering in you some, some qualities that will help you to effectively handle different teaching aspects. So when we talk about Bachelor of Arts Education, that is when you see people that study like English, that is linguistic, history, French. Those are people that fall under Bachelor of Arts Education, BA Edu. When you talk about Bachelor of Science Education, BSc Edu, it combines education with science subjects like mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology. When you are studying education in biology or in chemistry, you are combining both education and science, and that's why they call it BSc Education, BSc Edu or Ed. Now, the next thing we'll go into is what we call let's read this the activity. What is there? Let us break here so that you can look back to identify the kind of training you went through before you enroll into this program. How did it go? I've asked you that if you have done NCE before. Well, you guys are just developing your interest, so it seems you've not done it before. Now, there are also university degrees in education that prepare aspiring teachers. This range from purely education to Bachelor of Education to Bachelor of Arts Education degrees with teaching subjects in other areas and both art and science based. I've just explained that to you. I've been giving you examples. So all these are what we call pre-service training or training programs for teacher in Nigeria. So I have an icebreaker before we go to in-service. We are done with pre-service and I have an icebreaker Give me just mention 2 or 3 examples of um, 2 examples. In fact, I've already answered them in the chat box sef. um okay, pre-service training, so that is the icebreaker. Let's try to answer it. Mention 2 examples of pre-service training for teachers that you know. Even though I've given you the expo already before asking you the question, in any way, you will still answer it. So let's go to the next thing we'll do: in-service training. In-service training, not pre. Now we are done with pre. We're not in-service training. So let me try to read it just the way we normally do. We read it first and see what is written there before we start analyzing it. This is the training given to teachers already in service. This is the training given to teachers already in service. These are simple concepts one will not expect that anybody don't know, but it's not good to assume. I have another this thing there. Dash is the training given to, so we have 2 icebreakers there now. So this training is encompassed in all the programs stated above except the grade 3. The teachers program, which was the entry point in the training of service of teachers, was the grade 3, while still in the service. This level of teachers can go on to National Certificate of Education (NCE) while they still perform their jobs as teachers, or they are released to go to school if they so wish. Continue reading. The same teachers are eligible for the Bachelor of Education degree program. In the same vein, graduates can go on to postgraduate program in education up to the doctoral levels. All of these are most times carried on as in-service programs. In either pre-service or in-service program, the training is exclusively teacher-based. This is an interesting one. A teacher who wishes to undergo an in-service further education program can do so either still serving or may be released for the period of study, after which he or she goes back to the station to continue with his work. The account, excuse me, the account Okay, the account on teacher education will not be complete without mentioning the diploma and sandwich programs in education. The former is an education course generally offered to graduates from universities and polytechnics, that is diploma, who had no previous training in teaching but wish to be or are already practicing teachers but have no teaching qualification. That is for diploma. You can pursue it. Okay, don't worry. This is not time for explanation. Let's read on. They are usually, they are usually last from one. This that statement is something is wrong here. They are usually last like what? I think there is an expressional error there. What should be there is they usually last from 1 to 2 years and consist of professional courses. The certificate gotten which qualifies one as a professionally trained teacher is the Postgraduate Certificate of Education (PGCE) or Postgraduate Diploma in Education (PGDE) or the Technical Teachers Certificate the TTC or the polytechnics and colleges of education. This is very interesting. So that is for the diploma. We are still going to talk about the sandwich, but I love to take an icebreaker even before we talk about the sandwich. So, there's an icebreaker there for you guys. Kindly feel it while I continue reading. Now we have talked about diploma. Let's talk about the sandwich. What is, I know you've been hearing that sandwich, and you probably don't know what it's all about. The sandwich program or programs are run during the long vacations, often of 10-week duration. These are designed for full-time teachers who, because of their jobs, cannot attend the full-time training programs. They are spread between 2 to 6 years, depending on the program and or institution. They are mostly meant for grade 2 teachers or NCE teachers. Universities, colleges of education, and National Teachers Institute (NTI) run them. We have some universities that run sandwich programs. Now, professional the professional growth of the teacher is a rigorous one, such that teachers are not only to learn the various school subjects, but also, and most importantly, to behave in a way befitting the people who are to bring up young generations. So teachers are generation builders. Now, to be able to do this comfortably, they learn from psychology in order to understand how the child grows and learns. They learn some sociology so that they would understand the environment in which the child lives and learns. This understanding will enable the teacher to do his work well. The teacher studies a little philosophy too. In fact, if they leave it to me, I would say you should study a lot of philosophy. You need that one a lot. Being the only adult in the classroom environment, he needs to fit in properly amongst his students. To fit in well, he has to appreciate the level of his pupils. He has to speak in the language they will understand and teach them to understand. This is just like ethics. Okay, we have an icebreaker, an activity. I will not read that one yet. Let's finish the reading so that we can look at it critically. You can pick the ones that did not use what they learned in school to teach their own students. Okay, let's leave that one. So the teacher in his professional growth has to learn to be character builders. That is what they are. Since they are expected to build the character of the young ones in their charge, they should show good examples for the students to emulate. That way, they themselves grow professionally and as individuals. They become all rounder. Teachers, now they try, now they try. All right, so this is a very long reading. I hope the criticism will not be too long. Okay, we still have time, thank God. We still have time. So let's go to the criticism. We have a lot to criticize under in-service training. First of all, what is in-service training? That one is the opposite of pre-service training. In-service training is a training given to people who are already working as teachers. They are already working as teachers. You are a current teacher. You're already working as teacher. So you want to continue learning more about teaching while you are already teaching. You are going to receive in training. Why is in training? Sorry, in service rather. How am I saying in training? Why is in service training important? From what we've read, it helps teachers to improve their qualifications. You know, teachers want promotion, and even aside promotion, it's, I mean, when you are teaching, let's say in the college or anything, and your this thing is NC. Sometimes you'll not be bold to say it outside. But now when you earn your degree in education, or probably even done masters, you be confident. So you try to improve your qualification. For qualification improvement, that is why you need in-service training. Yes, you enter through NCE, fine, that's very good. You are a good teacher, you've been trained. But if you want more, while you are still a teacher, teaching with NCE qualification, you can still pursue your BSc, or sorry, your BEdu, in order to improve your qualification. The second thing is that it updates your knowledge. The knowledge you receive for teaching in NCE, some of those knowledge, some of those, now that you are pursuing BEdu, you are receiving more knowledge, and in fact, you're covering more field. Maybe in your NCE, you do not talk more on psychology and philosophy. Now in your BEdu, you are doing more of philosophy, psychology. You are not just focusing on only the ethics of teaching. You are also learning subject matters. Another thing is to gain promotion. In service training is important to gain promotion. And then it also helps the teacher to become a professional. In service training help you to become it's not like you are not a professional already, but you need to improve. There is always room for improvement. There's always a room for improvement. No matter the level you think you are now, you can always improve. So how teachers continue their education, that's another thing that was discussed in that part of the material in service. So how teachers continue their education. Now, a serving teacher already, sorry, a teacher that is already in service, a serving teacher may continue teaching while studying. It doesn't stop you. How do you gain this in-service training? You may do it while you are still teaching. Is allowed. Or depending on the institution you work for, you may be granted study leave and return after you've completed the program you want to pursue. So we have opportunity for study leave. If you are those of you that are in government work, it's not you that maybe somebody that is working for secondary school, a private school, you say you want to go for study leave, they will just tell you bye bye, thank you, God bless you, we appreciate your service for all this while, please have a nice life, be cool. The next day you see another teacher have come. Don't go and try that one in private school. But for the public service, sure, you can take study leave and return after completing your program. For example, now if you have grade 2, you may want to obtain your NCA. So you will need study leave, or you probably continue while still teaching. You may have NCE before and you want your BEdu, that is Bachelor of Education. You will need to improve yourself by taking an in-service training. You may have Bachelor of Education before and want to do master's degree or even doctorate degree, which is PhD, Doctor of Philosophy rather. So you may want to do your PhD. Those are continuous growth. You are leaving your previous qualification stand to a new position. Now, they also mention things like diploma and sandwich programs. Now, for diploma programs, we talked about programs that are designed for, like the diploma program now, they fall under this category of programs for people who did not study education at all, but decide to become teacher. People who did not decide to study, decide to become teachers. For example, you have a graduate of engineering or biology. You graduated with Bachelor of Science in biology, or Bachelor of Science in economics, or Bachelor of Technology in engineering, anything at all. You may want to switch into teaching. Probably, in Nigeria, situation, they make us bend. Sometimes somebody gets first class in engineering, look for work, and say, well, the only work we have is teaching. Maybe you should try to get a PGD in teaching and, PGD in education, and then come apply for teaching job. So, based on the rest of them, make some people to go for PGD program, that is diploma program, and then switch to education line. Now, since they lack teaching qualifications, they study professional education courses. That program is only for 1 year. Somebody that already have Bachelor of Science in biology, for instance, that want to switch to education, PGD program is just 1 year. Like in now we have it. It's just 2 semesters. 2 semesters you are done. You have your PGD in education. You can quickly use it to work as teacher or as a teacher. Why? Because you already have subject knowledge. You only need the ethics of teaching. That is what you need. You already have a bachelor degree, but you need the ethics of teaching. That is why most of the things they do in PGD focuses on the ethics of the work teaching. Now, what are the certificates you can earn when you try to do diploma programs? You can earn the postgraduate certificate in education, the PGCE. You can earn the postgraduate diploma in education, GDE. You can also earn the technical teacher's certificate, the teacher, and that is all on professional. That is for diploma. Don't forget that we say diploma program are meant for people who are not yet teachers but are intending to switch into teaching. Now, the other program mentioned is sandwich program. The sandwich program is designed for teachers who are already working full-time teachers. Those are the ones they design sandwich for. And that sandwich used to be very long. Normal degree that you earn in 4 years, sandwich may be 6, 7 years. Why? Because it's part-time. They just help you to, it's like it's only Saturdays they go for classes in sandwich. I don't know if you have an idea of sandwich, but the people I know that have done something like that. It's only Saturdays they go for classes. Now, the reason why they created sandwich based on what we've seen here in the material is that those people are full-time workers. They can't leave their job. Now, what are the things that we can study on sandwich? Sandwiches are held during long school vacations. You can take short period, short. There are some of them that are just short professional courses. You can just like 6 weeks or so. So doing like now that they are in long vacation, some teachers are already taking sandwich program. So usually it lasts for several years, between 2 and 6 years, depending on the program you want to run. And it is mainly for grade 2 teachers and NCE teachers to upscale their certificate. And who are the people that offer sandwich programs? We have universities, colleges of education, the National Teachers Institute, NTI. Now, we will not talk about professional growth of teachers. That is another thing this part of the material focused on. Teacher education is not only about knowing school subjects. You should know that you are dealing with human beings. The commodity you are dealing with, the product you are dealing with are humans. They have emotions. They react. They think. They respond to stimuli. So you need much more than just teaching subjects. I'm good in math. I'm good in social studies. I'm good in English. No. You need the knowledge of psychology. Teachers study psychology to understand how children grow, how they think, and how children learn. How children grow, how children think, how children learn. That is why teachers study psychology. But another thing mentioned is even sociology. You also need the child's family life, the environment where he lives, and the society. That is why you need the knowledge of sociology as a teacher. Then I know Madam Titi she will be a witness to that. I love the aspect of philosophy, because the method we started using this method since the day we studied about philosophy, the meaning of philosophy. Why? Teachers need to study philosophy because it will help them to understand it will help you to understand the purpose of what even teaching these children. Philosophy will also help you to think critically. Look at how deeply we have been looking into it to critically explain it to ourselves. How many minutes did it take us to read through the material? Look at how many minutes we have been explaining. Why? Because we are looking at it philosophically. Why? How? Is this true? Is this false? How to, if you compare it to this one, if no, so you look at it all rounder. So philosophy will help you, the study or the knowledge of philosophy will help you to think critically. Another thing the study of philosophy will help you to do is that it will help you to make sound educational decisions. Philosophy will help you to make sound decisions, educational decisions. So, and the overall thing the material mentioned is that the knowledge of philosophy will help you to be able to communicate with your learners in the level of their understanding. It's only philosophy that can help you to understand that these children, ah, they don't understand this my grammar. Okay, let me be using this, level of communication with them. It's philosophy that will help you to discover that. Now, teachers as character builders. That is the last thing we will do here. Teachers as character builders. You know, what does it mean that teachers are character builders? You must be an example. You must be honest. You must be disciplined yourself. You must show respect yourself. You must display good behavior. And you must be a role model. So the children will now learn more by what? Imitating you. The children will learn more by imitating you. You set examples. You set the standards. And then we say the professional growth, teacher will continue to grow professionally through what? Further education, training, their experiences, and exhibiting good characters. In the form of summary, the pre-service training that we've talked about tonight is a training received before you become a teacher. And examples, we have grade 3, grade 2, NCE, Bachelor of Education, Bachelor of Art Education, Bachelor of Science Education. In 1977, the NCE became the minimum teaching qualification in Nigeria. Then in-service training, we said training for teachers already in service is called in-service training. And teachers may continue studying while working or go on study leave. And they can also progress from one level of qualification to another, like from NCE to Bachelor of Education to Masters and then to Doctor of Philosophy, that is PhD. Then we have things like diploma program, which is just 1 year, mostly 1 year to 2 year. Example, the PGCE, the PGDE, the TTC. We also talked about sandwich program, which is designed for working teachers. It is held during long vacations and often NTI. Teachers are meant to grow psychologically and philosophically. That is all we had done in this unit. Teachers are expected to grow psychologically, sociologically, and philosophically. And that is a summary to course, to this unit. In our next class, by the grace of God, we'll be going into unit 5. But before that, I want to entertain questions. Do you have any question in this part of? Sorry, the reason why I don't usually ask whether you have questions or not is that I do believe that we're teachers. So I feel somehow to start asking my teachers, do you have any question? So is there any question from the explanation or from the reading part? So we take the question and then end the class. Oh, we've passed our time. We've spent extra 5 minutes already. So I'm waiting for you guys to respond. Do you have any question before we end the meeting? While you are thinking about that, in the next class, we'll start from educating the educators. This is going to be an interesting topic. I can't wait for it already. Educating the educators. That is our concern in the next class. In the absence of any question, I have not even received any response yet. I have not received any response yet. Please, I need your responses. Because do we have any question? Yes or no? Before we. All right. So thank you. There are no questions. That brings us to the end of the class. Thank you for your time and do have a wonderful night rest. See you tomorrow.